I've been rereading Communion by Whitley Strieber, excuse me, and it's a classic book. It was released in the late 1980s. This is it right here, Communion. If you don't read, I'm sure a lot of you out there have read this book. Very famous cover of an alien, and I'm in the middle of it again. It's been a few years since I've read it. Probably longer than a few years. Probably like 6-7 years now since last time I read it. It's a very interesting book, and it's about Whitley Strieber's own experiences with extraterrestrials throughout his life, actually. And he comes up with some very interesting thoughts on aliens in this book, basically how he talks about how they. How it seems like they have a hive mentality. Basically, how he puts it here on page 145. Basically, it's a single mind with millions of bodies, a brilliant creature, but lacking the speed of independent, quick-witted mankind. Now, it's like, okay, think about that. So it's basically the alien hive mentality versus the individuality of human beings. And maybe that's why they view us as a threat. That's what it's just one of his hypotheses on this, why they're so secretive, that they view us as a threat, why they might view us as a threat because of our own individuality, which is, true. We, all of us, want to do what we want to do. Some of us do think alike, but, not all of us think alike. And everybody's, so some people are just completely different than anybody else. There's a lot of us out there. So, but from their point of view, that scares them because they can't understand that it doesn't make any sense. To them, why wouldn't, to them, they just can't understand, like, well, how could we all want to be individuals? Why aren't we all working at, for the same purpose like we are? That's from their point of view. So basically, just like he says, millions of bodies with one brain, it's one body. And then there was a brilliant paragraph here. I'm going to read it again. It's on page 145. He writes, "If I am right about them, it is unlikely that there will ever be the kind of open contact between our two species that seems so logical and useful to us. Even a well-intentioned human being would pose a threat, in that his accidentally taking an action they had not anticipated might cause them literally to lose track of him right in the middle of one of their own craft. Might he not then be able to explore it at will, learn its secrets, and potentially at least release all of us into the cosmos?" I mean, that would be a concern. If that is the case, could be a concern among aliens, that extraterrestrial visitors, that they view us as, if we act individually a lot of times. We do have our organizations that are supposed to follow certain guidelines and certain rules, but you know how that goes. They don't always do that. There's individuals could try to attempt to change those things. So, and say, I believe something crashed in Roswell, and I'm sure that there's other spacecraft that has crashed throughout the years. So with that in mind, and say these visitors understand this, they know this, there has to be some concern then. Oh wait, all these brutal, brutish human beings have access now to our technology. What if they reverse engineer it, and next thing you know, all of them are out, just like we are, but they're out, doing whatever they want, for whatever. Whatever they contrive that they want to do. Imagine. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing. An interesting hypothesis that he presents here, and so we could be a threat to extraterrestrials because of our individuality. Because it's so unpredictable. One of us could, if one of us had one of these craft, for instance, one of us could try to use it for good. It wouldn't be that big of a problem for the greater good. And somebody else might want to use it for themselves, for selfish reasons, for destruction, just for the heck of it, And that could be a concern. And if we were ever able to reach a point where, any and all of us at will could travel through the galaxy and visit other places, that could be viewed as a threat by these beings, and maybe that's why they're here. Maybe that's what they're trying to prevent that from happening. Because their hive mentality says that our individuality, that's not going to work in their book, and maybe that presents a threat at some point down the road for them, and I don't know. It's just, again, Stryber, he in his book, and I'm sure still to this day, he has no idea. None of us have no idea really what's going on. I know so a lot of people, try to say, all we could do is theorize. I'm sure, I would hope that the people sitting on this information within our government knows what's going on. And again, I just watched this very interesting interview with Linda Moulton Howe, and she had with Kurt J. Mungle, and in that interview there was discussion, like she's of the belief that there's different kind of aliens out there. Some of them are trying to prevent, some of them are good, and they're trying to prevent some other ones that are bad from causing us harm in some way. Again, I don't know how you could know this but that's her belief. I mean, again, to me, that should be speculation. I can't see how any of us could know this unless you're on the in with the government somehow, unless you're actually one of the people that are sitting on some secret board and that oversees the faction within our government, or any world government for that matter, that's trying to study these things, that has been studying these things for the last 75 years. So yeah, that's why we could be a threat to extraterrestrial visitors. They could look at us as a threat because they could look at us and say, hey, they don't act and think the way we do. They're not like us. If in fact they do have a hive mentality, but that's what it does seem like based on all the different kind of evidence that's been gathered, in different people that have claimed to be abducted by these things. It just seems like there is this hive mentality that they're all operating on the same wavelength, and they all have one singular. They're all trying to work toward one singular purpose. Doesn't seem to be any stragglers. Although I will, and I have done in the past, I will throw out there that you wonder what happened back in 1993 in Zimbabwe, near Zimbabwe, South Africa, when alien spacecraft landed outside of a school with elementary kids. Over 40 of them, saw this alien come out out of one of the craft, and this being communicated with them telepathically, telling them that expressing concerns about the dangers of technology. I always wonder, was that did some alien or extraterrestrial being go rogue with that one? I mean, that usually doesn't happen every day, but there were all these witnesses, and I just don't see how as far as I'm concerned, that's proof that there's something going on here right there. I mean, a bunch of kids, over 40 kids aren't going to lie. Now they're grown up and they all say the same story. They're all still sticking by the story. Little kids can't, they can't conspire to contrive something like this. So I believe that's proof that aliens are coming. That's just another, that's more evidence. That's another, actually that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's undeniable proof. That's one element of undeniable proof, right? But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is, it doesn't make sense when you consider everything else that's been going on here. Why did they do that just that one time? As far, I mean, I haven't heard any other stories like this. Why that one school? Why those kids? What about all the other schools and all the other kids? Why just one time? Was it a joke? I mean, did somebody go rogue? I mean, if aliens are a hive mentality, if these visitors coming here are all thinking the same way and for the same purpose, did they all think that this was a good idea? because it doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to keep something secret, why would you do this? I don't know, because they obviously are trying to keep their presence secret. Why would they show up in front of a bunch of kids and do something like that? Doesn't make much sense, does it? But anyway, the bottom line is, if our extraterrestrials visitors are operating under this hive mentality, like Stryber says, a million bodies working as one, they could view us. We could be a threat to that. Our individuality poses a threat to that. Again, this is another just speculative statement. I'm saying this as fact. It's just something to throw out there, because actually, we just don't have a lot. We don't have a lot to go on other than the fact that we know that they're here. Because our government officials have failed us for 75 years. They're just starting to do this slow disclosure nonsense. This is all we got. This is all we have. So all we can do is sit back and speculate.